6 o'clock, we'll call to order Grayson County Board of Supervisors, being March 11th. Smith, would you give us this invitation briefly?
Father, thank you for the day that's been given. Beautiful day here in Grayson County. Thank you for how you bless our county and our board members and the staff that work for Grayson County. Thank you for the citizens showing up tonight. We just pray your blessings on this meeting. It's in your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everybody had a chance to look over the agenda, consent agenda, I'll look for motion. Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Right. No public hearing tonight. And 6:05, I guess we'll go into closed session, so I'll look for motion. So
Second.
second, all in favor, aye? So make yourself at home.
The agenda's been online today, Mom. We moved it.
the river being a resource, but the aspect of it and stewardship, I think those things that can be improved. Another element that we thought through that may be a benefit is, besides the formal get in the river, clean it up, how do you encourage the landowners that have frontage on the river to clean it up? And we've actually had it at the club where people would come up to us on the day that we were having an activity saying, I've done some work on the river, can I bring my stuff over to you? And we'd say, yeah. But more of a formal approach of letting people know during the month, clean up the river, here's a place that you can take it and provide that type of support. Let's talk about promoting more people getting into the river and doing it. Aaron told me of a youth group that did it this year. That's the only other group that I know of that tried something. We tried it. It's a big body of water. And we need more people to do that. Last time that we did it in 2019, between the stretch of where Elk Creek comes in to DWR, we took out around 50 tires. And Joe Miller and the Wildlife Club do not put tires in the river, yet that's who their frontage is. So they're coming somewhere. And there's going to be a continuous. Soon after that, last year, I actually got on the water one time, and from the club to Carrico Bridge, just fishing, saw 20 tires. That's not even looking for them. So it's an ongoing need. And we need to be sure that people understand that we're trying to take care of it. Another aspect of there is how do we get to people with the large number of people who go kayaks and such, how do we get them involved? So letting them know that here's a place you can take your garbage, your trash off the river, find some stuff. Either in Michigan or Ohio when we lived there, they actually required livery stables to put a mesh bag for people to put their garbage in. That could be a promotional type of tool, so people could use that bag over and over again as far as taking trash with them or finding trash and taking it out. So this really is more of a question of what do you want to do? Is this an important issue for you? And if you are, do you want to actually take this plan? I mean, it's really a template for what you could do to try to improve that aspect of cleaning the river. So with that, that's I guess the presentation. Why August? Well, usually you find the river at a lower level in August. We would say September, but then after Labor Day, you're not getting as many people that could actually help with it. So August seemed like a good time. Again, I go back to the Wildlife Club. We normally scheduled ours in June, but over the past 5 years, it never occurred because it was always high water or muddy water. August could have the same thing, but at least you're given it a month where it's usually at a lower level and cleaner.
Who's going to be responsible for taking what's in writing and executing it? One thing to develop a plan, but who's going to promote it? Who's responsible for that? Who's going to cover the cost of that? What are the thoughts about that?
The thoughts about it are there are some organizations that are saying, hey, we support this activity, and they'd be able to put in parts of it. But as far as leadership of it, I think that's really a county responsibility. Trying to pull this together.
Public Works already does support them, you know, they dumpsters and go and get the tires and stuff, so that there is a level of support.
I'm talking about
But
educating,
not from a legal
promotion,
standpoint.
education, you know, who's going to do this? I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
If I'm looking at it from an education standpoint, you have some organizations like the Blue Ridge Discovery Center, the New River Conservancy, Virginia Outdoor Foundation, and Grayson Land Care that have the potential to help put on some type of development programs. But who's pull them together and say, all right, here's what we're going to do? It needs to be some additional leadership there. As far as like on the river frontage and such, again, I go back to that Door Foundation, New River Conservancy, Grayson Land Care. You've really identified a lot of organizations that know which of their members have river frontage and can provide some aspects of getting in contact with those people. The river communities that we have, again, that would be somewhere we need some help from the county. So it's a matter of, is this something that you want to dedicate some resources and leadership to?
I know the years I was with the Wildlife Club, that the county did a lot of assistance as far as providing disposing of the tires and hauling the debris off and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I could potentially see something in the way maybe of a resolution, declaring August as the awareness of the river resource. Maybe something like that, and encourage organizations to put on educational programs or enlighten people, property owners, that maybe something on our county website at that period that we could post.
I agree with you. It's great stuff that you're doing for sure. When you submitted to us, that you would ask the county to do, there's really not, we don't have the manpower or that could actually do that right this second. There's not extra time for people to be able to do that. But what I wanted to do was I wanted you to be able to present the ideas that you have, and hopefully move towards what Mike just said, which is the first step in this thing, which is but I hope the board would be supportive of declaring that month of August as national, not national, but as River Month, whatever the term that you would want to use on it, and that we could help you bring together the volunteers that would be working on this and help get the word out and work with the paper to get information out. That's the kind of thing I think we would be capable of doing right now, unless the board thinks otherwise.
Maybe a recruitment type of, through those means.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm wondering would the staff have the ability to do the analysis, or what would it take? And look at, these are the things we want to implement maybe this year, next year we want to be able to do this, because eventually, like Keith is saying, if in fact the river is important, and it is to the county in a variety of ways, then the protection or the oversight of that resource probably requires resources applied to it.
Yeah.
And so, but what does that look like?
Right.
Would the staff have the ability just to develop a plan about how to do this?
I would think it would be like a situation like we did with Sandy Terry, where we get I think we could bring in somebody to help us put together a plan, but I think with what we have going on with the various projects that are ongoing right now and the staff that we currently have, I think the best way for us to do it might be through bringing somebody in that could work with us to put together a plan. Sort of like what we're talking about with the schools, on helping us develop a strategic plan for the future, much smaller than that, but from a monetary standpoint, but still, I think it could be done that way. I think we could afford to do that unless the study was hundreds of thousands of dollars, which I wouldn't imagine. We're looking at just kind of step by step what needs to be done in order to get the river to where it needs to be.
I think what you're proposing, the concept, absolutely.
Yeah.
mean, that resource for this county is one of the things that shines.
Sure.
Brings people here. But I think, Bill, I kind of agree with John. I look to you and Mitch to come back with some type of plan. Say, what can we do and how would we proceed? Passing a resolution, we're good at passing resolutions.
Well,
But after three months, everybody forgets them. So we need more of an operational plan on how you're gonna execute.
I gotta be honest with the board, I don't think Mitch and I can do that.
Well,
I
I'm
think
not
if we
saying.
brought in an outside
Yeah.
group, temporarily to help us put it together, we could do it in that way, but right now, we've got some great projects going on, but we don't want to take our focus off getting those projects completed. It doesn't mean we can't bring somebody in to help us like we do with grants and like we did with broadband. I think that might be an option for us. I wouldn't want you all to think though that we could, with the staff that we have right now, put together a plan for this.
No, I wouldn't say
Okay.
that. I mean, the plan may be to bring somebody
Yeah,
in.
right.
So who knows
Gotcha.
how much,
I got you.
what's it gonna take?
Well, I think right here with his little document that he prepared, you got a good focus group or
That's a good point.
advisory committee to help formulate some ideas.
That's a good point. Yeah, I
I mean,
like that
you know,
advisory committee.
Like you've got, maybe somebody from each of these that would, could, maybe talk to them, see if they would be willing to provide a
I
representative
think that's a great way to go.
and, put up some ideas.
Yeah,
If we do want to dedicate the month of August to, doing projects, aimed at bettering the river, then, maybe they could come up with some ideas and then we could find out ways that we could support it.
I would support that.
I think you should that if you're gonna designate August, we can move on to. That maybe each August, this is what we're gonna.
It's not a one-year deal.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the key thing I'd like to emphasize is.
Yeah.
And there are other communities, I mean, Giles County has done a fairly decent job as far as what they do. Once where they had 150 people. They also had access to, or that's effective to help with that. But, and I guess that's the thing is, you make this a community effort where the community is involved and buys into it. It takes on a life of itself where it helps the community be a community.
So your point, maybe to tie this together, so I think by simply saying August is Clean River Month for the county, regardless if that's all we do, is an important message to be sent.
Yeah.
So I think a proclamation to say that, but internal to that proclamation is to take it beyond just the platitudes, but to say, we're going to establish an advisory committee to come up with how we might develop a plan to help take care of the river.
Yeah.
So we're identifying the month and things that we would like them to do, but then this is also the action that we're going to take for the long term. Is that
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
within the
Yeah,
realm
that's
of,
very doable.
and then you can resource it however you want to
Sure.
resource it, but that at least moves the ball. We're not waiting another year to come up with a plan,
Right.
at least saying, hey, every year from now on in August, we're gonna focus on the river.
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
All the people from Gales Village mentioned their beer cans, so they're gonna come and they're gonna help clean up the river.
I know at one point for Wildlife Club, I don't know if you still do it or not, we used to provide certificates to participants who, because there's a lot of kids that are applying to college, teenagers and stuff that apply to colleges and stuff, and they have service, this little service certificate shows, things that they've been involved in that when they're doing their application process that sometimes, looks good on their application, you could create some kind of certificate like that, and get maybe different groups, Maybe do some kind of service requirements or something.
Good ideas. May I ask who is going to help pull together the advisory committee?
I'll work with you on it, Will. We'll get it done. How about that? Is that okay with the board? And we appreciate your stick-to-itiveness and.
I've been described in other terms, but that's okay. You're laughing at me.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'll help you.
I know you are.
And we would love to do everything that's on that list. And maybe over the years that can be done. We just have to, we have to take it step by step.
And the community service, I mean, you couldn't get to jail. Cleaning the road, putting on floats and putting down the river.
Yeah. When we get through this pandemic and get them back out, I think they've been, they don't want to come out of there now. because
Our roads are in bad need of, but now they're not.
But that, that's something potentially in the future.
One thing to do check on is that our game commission, whatever, is gonna charge you a fishing license when you get on the river. So whoever's gonna clean the river, we need somebody from the state says you're exempt for cleaning the river, but you don't have to buy a
Oh, wow.
fishing license to. You can't put a float in there and float down the river without a fishing license.
Well,
Is that right?
it's a matter of you can do it all you want to. It's just the putting in and the taking out. So if you put in on private property and take off on private property, you're not paying anything.
Just on those boat things. Yeah, state, state make that
Beside the boat landing.
boat launches.
And I think they would take exception to if we put in a cleanup activity. Because you'll see one of the organizations
But
that
they're on your advisory committee.
Yeah, really.
there would be somebody from DWR that would be willing to participate.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're gonna get to work on it.
Yeah. We appreciate it.
All right. So no resolution tonight, or you're gonna?
We got a draft.
It's got a draft, something left of the plan.
Right here, guys.
Yeah, but see, what you have in there includes personnel and all that, and we're not ready to,
Oh, something else.
we're not ready to do that.
You contact.
You
You
got
let me know when you want to pull together.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kevin Spurlow.
I'm gonna defer to Erin and let her go first, and then I'll call her.
That one's there.
So, give our extension report together.
Carl, can you put the slide up? Please, sir? I'll just go ahead.
Carl, are you there?
Carl, are you in the room?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm getting it pulled up.
I'll just start chatting and then I have it on my phone, so I'll just start chatting. No, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to take a moment and just thank you guys for having me, of course, and talk a little bit about what 4-H has been up to. We still had some really good work coming out of our office. Of course, some of my responsibilities were, changed for a little bit while I was on the Small Business Recovery Committee and doing that kind of work. But there was still really good 4-H work going on as well. So whenever school went back into session, we provided learning kits to 4th and 5th grade. So some of them were electricity kits. We always did that, but instead of, typically how 4-H works is I have a kit and I travel around from each school and I hand all the stuff out and then I take it back up and I move to the next class. And of course that was not going to be an option. So we used some of our funds and some of our resources and we purchased enough material so that each child received a kit in each classroom so that they could have that. It could be taken up and kept within their classroom and then we could pick it up at a later date for use. And so we tried to make sure we had electricity kits, we had microinvertebrate kits, we had public speaking kits, and we had a couple other things that went out. And so we tried to make sure that they had 4-H resources, even though we weren't able to be there in person. We also are now in the process of going back into the schools, on a I try to go into a school, and then give myself plenty of time just to make sure, that, just to make safe that that we're following the protocols and stuff. And so, we're just now starting that back. And then we had a great experience with a virtual 4-H day at the Capitol. Typically, what I do from our county is I coordinate a trip for, just end of the state. We get kids from Buchanan County, Wise County, Smith County, Lee, Scott. We get all these kids together. We typically take 2 charter buses up to Richmond, and we talk with our legislators, and we do presentations, and we really try to showcase, 1, Grayson County, and 2, the greatness of 4-H, and we try to really showcase that. And this year, of course, we wanted to, of course, operate with the safety of our kids in mind. And so we did a virtual 4-H day at the Capitol, and I wasn't quite sure how that would turn out, but it actually ended up being one of my favorite things that we did. So we had current 4-Hers, and we did a Zoom call. I had alumni on the call as well, and then of course myself, and then Chris Butler talked about some of the good work that came from the small business to kind of represent that as well. Because we were just really proud of that, of how many businesses we truly helped in a short amount of time. And so he also, kind of made a plug for Skyline and different good organizations that have really poured into our small business community. So, and we had Israel O'Quinn on the Zoom call and his assistant. And so we were able to really showcase that. And so part of what happened is I had 4-H alumni on there, and while she was talking, I thought in my head, like, her family, I think, received one of these grants. And so I sent her a little message and I said, didn't your family receive this? And she said, yes. Do you want me to talk about it whenever I get off whenever it changes? And I said, absolutely. And so she shared how important that was. And she now lives, she's very established in a large city, and she has really grown. And I know that 4-H played a key part in that, because she was one of my first kids I had, and she just really blossomed in our program. And so she also shared that the good that came from that grant that really helped her family during, when everything was really shut down. And so it really it came full circle. And so it was just an awesome opportunity to share that. And I was going to share the video. Carl, do you have that we could share the video that I shared with them that day as well?
Yeah, I'll get it played.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And thanks for all that you did to help us with this small business.
Oh, you're welcome.
You were an essential part of that whole.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. There's some sound to it, maybe.
I like 4-H because it teaches kids new life skills and helps with their socialization.
Can we get the sound, Carl?
No, I don't know why it's not showing or playing the sound.
Oh, okay.
I've been in the 4-H program for 9 years.
We had interviews from our youth, and they talked
My
about
favorite part of 4-H.
that 4-H has really played a key role in helping them to develop, some of their lifelong skills and leadership skills.
Very fond memories of 4-H. Definitely helped me develop my leadership skills needed to land my dream job in New York City as an Estee Lauder Company's presidential associate. I'm so thankful for the time that I spent through 4-H, which has truly helped develop me into the person I am today.
For her, and she is grateful for all the time that she had. And then, of course, we want to thank you all for your support for 4-H. I will send this video out so you can hear it and experience that. The kids talking is really good. It helps you to capture, the good things that you come from 4-H. So I'll make sure to send that, and then you guys can listen to it. But so we have that, and we're just really proud of that. It was a little bit different because we weren't able to visit Richmond, but we also were able to showcase Grayson County and 4-H in a way that was really important. The other thing that we have been doing, we're starting to do county fair preparation. We've got some corporate sponsors for the Kids Corner. We're looking forward to that. We want to make it, of course, COVID careful, but we want to have some good programs for our kids as well. So we're looking at competitions and getting some corporate sponsorship to maybe get prizes and some good stuff with that. So we're working on that. And then currently we did it last year as well, but we have a berry program that's running in Grayson County. These numbers are old. When I submitted this a couple days ago, we have received significantly more, but 524 blueberry bushes, 2,750 strawberry plants, and 409 raspberry bushes. These numbers have increased since just because we have continued to have a lot of orders. And so since they received their plants, they're enrolled in the program. We talked to them on the phone about how to grow them, just give them a little bit of information. And then we provide a really nice packet for them that also encourages them to get local youth involved in harvesting and, easy kid recipes that they can do with their kids or grandkids or neighbors or whoever. And then we also do a follow-up survey, which we did last year and we'll do this year. That indicates that their plants did well. Almost all the ones who returned surveys had some kind of youth participation, and they loved our pickup process. We did a touchless process where they mailed their checks in early to pay for their product. And then we set up berry plants all around the front of our building, alphabetical order. And then they just come and pick up their order and we tape it all together. And so it's a contactless way. And a lot of people really appreciated that. They just came and got their stuff and we waved and they went away. So we were glad that went over so well. We're continuing that program and we're hoping that that's going to grow. The other thing we're in the process of is we are in the process of doing a tree planting project with Grayson County. We're working with a couple of our larger organizations or corporations that to replant trees. We've got different types of dogwood trees that are going to be planted, a couple different oak trees that are going to be planted. And so that would be kind of a beautification process. And so we're going to work with that. And so that will be coming soon. I'm excited. And if the county would like to plant some of those, we can certainly work on that as well. So thank you for your time. And if there's any questions, I'll take them. And if not, I'll let you chat.
Thanks, Aaron.
I'm sorry.
Is it too late to order plants?
It is too late to order the strawberries and the raspberries, but we can still take orders for blueberries. I'm sorry. And if they're, I can put you on a waiting list. If they're extra, we can call. Thank you.
Thank you all for having us both tonight. It's just good to see everybody. Some of it's been a while. And we wanted to just let you know we made it through. We're still here. We're still working. And hopefully you received in your board packet kind of an annual summary. And I tried to include in that activities from all the agents that serve the county. I'll let Erin kind of take care of her own there for you because I knew she wanted to come herself. But as far as what we have in there, I'm not going to go through it all, certainly. I just want to hit on a couple of things. The Gate Center renovation project, if you kind of notice, we've got a nice new deck out there. The outside it's changing from probably what you remember. The inside looks even more different. And we're getting close to having that renovation finished. We're in the process of starting to furnish, purchase the items to furnish that. And the hope is that renovations will be done by the end of this month. And then furnishings and some other things operationally, I'm hoping by the end of May, we can have a real nice grand opening and showcase that facility. Last year, one of the main things we did is we've secured $170,000 worth of grants. Both of those grants were set to expire in 2020, and I was able to go in and get extensions for those due to the extenuating circumstances. And that's bought us some time to finish this project up. And I'm sure we'll use all of that to finish. Another thing, and this just recently happened, a year ago, Sandy Stoneman, who is our area food safety extension agent, she's housed in Wythe County, but she's been instrumental in helping get some of these user agreements, standard operating procedures, a fee schedule and all for that facility. We hope that this will be an incubator, that there will be food entrepreneurs that are going to look at that kitchen and see the potential. But it's not a kitchen we can just, we've got $25,000 worth of equipment sitting there right now. And we're not just going to turn somebody loose in there without some protection, some liability insurance, some coverage, without some training. And so we're working on those documents. They've been submitted to county administration to run through county attorney and make sure everything's up to snuff. And so we're trying to have all that in place so that when it is operational, we will be ready for tenants. As far as one of the big highlights that I took on this year, we had an opportunity to help some beef producers add some value to the county. And this is through a sponsored sale that happens via tele auction. Basically, it's just an auction over the telephone. And we were able to add up to $150, $200 a head in value to these cattle that were traditionally selling through local buying stations. And we were able to sell those cattle to Pennsylvania, Ohio, a load went to Canada, and sold them right out of this area. We did one in August. We did another in November. And actually, on the report, I didn't include the one we just finished up in January. Those cattle left February 2nd. We shipped over 900 head with an added value of roughly $90,000 in that. And the interest is very high in continuing that moving forward. And so just very, very excited about that. A couple other things on here. Just want to highlight some of the folks that are not housed here. Billy Worrell, he's our forestry agent. He's housed down in Lebanon, Russell County. And he was active in this area as much as we could be during the pandemic. He hosted a forest landowner field tour at Matthews. Colonel Fenton and I were involved in that as presenters, and had some landowners that showed up for that. We also had Ashley Edwards. She's a commercial horticulture agent, primarily, working with the commercial growers, orchard and vegetable production, Christmas trees. And you can see what some of the highlights there that she did. And I'll note she did that while on maternity leave there for part-time. She had a little girl, her first born this year, and that was exciting for her and her family. But she's continuing to serve and meeting one-on-one with clients. And finally, I just add Sandy Stoneman again, instrumental in our county fair board. She's done a lot of work there, and she's been invaluable to me with the Gate Center kitchen. I couldn't undervalue what she's done to help get that kitchen where it needs to be. That's all I'm going to cover. Do you have any questions, any needs that you feel like that we can be addressing? I'm happy to answer anything.
You have a date. You said renovations into March, but ribbon cutting, any sort of grand opening for the Gate Center?
Right now, it's just a general end of May is kind of what I'm thinking, and it's going to depend on, with the pandemic, access to certain items has been kind of tricky. So I think I'm trying to be fairly conservative, and we've still got to make some purchases to actually furnish that. Maybe earlier, but I'm trying to be realistic. It's taken us 4 years to get to this point.
Right.
And I would encourage anyone, if you want to stop by down there and walk through and just see kind of where it's at now, feel free anytime. I mean, I'm happy to show folks.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I had promised that Michelle Pridgeon that I would read something that she wanted to say regarding Keith Andrews' presentation. Do you mind if I do that real quick? She just said she wanted to express, this is Michelle Pridgeon. She wanted to express her support for the New River Wildlife Club's call for a proclamation of August as New River Month. Land Care does plan to assist with the cleanup and work with them in any other way they ask. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Ms. Grayson.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to present this tourism ordinance for your consideration tonight. It has been reviewed by the legal team, Steve Durbin. All participating departments have had offered input into this plan and have reviewed this final product. It is an ordinance that takes many of the same incentives from the enterprise zone and moves them to the tourism zone and creates a different entity there. When I first accepted this position a little over a year ago, I was told that one of my key objectives was to try to attract, small businesses to Grayson County. And so one of the first things I did was I reached out to Becky Nave, who is Southwest Virginia's representative for the Virginia Tourism Corporation. And the very first thing that she said to me that I needed to do, she said, Tracy, you need to get Grayson County in a tourism zone. And so I began to study that and look into it and see everything that it entails. And so I put together a little bit of a presentation. What I'd like to do is kind of go through that and kind of define for you folks what a tourism zone is and give you a few facts about it. A little bit of clarification that I'd like to do if possible. And then we'll take the document and look at it and answer your questions and address some of your concerns that way as well. Before I do that, as you think about, well, why do we want to do this? Why did Becky Nave tell me that we needed to be a tourism zone? And I hope tonight you'll see several reasons for doing that. But if I had to pick out the top two, the first one is it's a tool that helps to recruit small businesses in Grayson County. And for tourism, that's very important to us, small business. And number two is that it will help with grant funding for the county. Not only could we possibly be able to receive some grant funds because we're a tourism zone, but also that as we apply for other grant opportunities, it's going to look good, and that is something that we can discuss in our grant proposals as we look to find other funding. So these are key points, and I wanted to point out at the very bottom, I'm skipping around just a little bit. All of these come from the Virginia Tourism Corporation's website. So if you ever want to go back in, that's vtc.org. If you ever want to go in, you can look at that website, and it's going to give you lots of details about what a tourism zone is. And one of the neat things about it is you would be able to pull up all 75 tourism zones and look at each locality's tourism zone independently and see the specifics. They also have a matrix on there so that you can get just a gist, a general idea of what everyone offers. So the first point there just basically defines for you what a tourism zone is. It allows businesses to take advantage of local tax incentives and deductions not available to businesses elsewhere. Any city, county, or town may establish by ordinance one or more tourism zones. Some localities will have 3. There are some counties that will have 3. Carroll actually has its own, and then Hillsville has a separate one. Can be passed by a local ordinance. It may contain requirements and benefits for existing and new tourism businesses. Ours does both. We have requirements and we have benefits to those businesses. This one kind of goes along with local ordinance. It can be established without any state oversight, which frees us up from some of the red tape that other things might require. And I want to clarify this next point just a little bit. These tax incentives, this is some of the only oversight that you'll get from the state of Virginia. In Virginia, we can offer tax incentives up to 20 years. We did not choose to allow tax incentives for 20 years in our plan. We chose 3 instead, but we are allowed to do 20. A tourism zone is a recruitment tool for tourism-related entrepreneurship, provides free marketing for that purpose by the Virginia Tourism Corporation. So if someone comes to Virginia and they contact the Virginia Tourism Corporation and say, I want to open a rafting company in Virginia, what are your suggestions? These 70, if we adopt this ordinance and become the 76, these 76 tourism zones, that's who the Virginia Tourism Corporation is going to point you to. If you're not a tourism zone, they're not going to point you in that direction. And the last one there, if a locality is a tourism zone, then that automatically qualifies them to participate in another program through the Virginia Tourism Corporation called the Adventure Tourism Manufacturing. And that allows that same entity, the Virginia Tourism Corporation, to recruit companies that want to manufacture any kind of outdoor related product. Hiking boots, streams, fishing lures. So if they wanted to start a business, then the Virginia Tourism Corporation is going to also send them our direction for that as well. Okay, so that's just some of the key points. The next slide will show you a map. I like maps. I'm a bit of a map geek. So you can see there are 75 tourism zones in the state of Virginia, and not many in our area. And then there are your local ones, closest ones to us, Carroll County. Okay. And the next slide. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about the benefits to the county for establishing a tourism zone. The first one on $7,500 of capital investment, any small business has to, that's one of the requirements. They would have to invest $7,500. Okay.
Is it retroactive? So if they come to you and show, hey, I've been doing this, I've already spent the money, now you're a tourism fund. Do they get credit?
It's based on a base year. So if you apply in this year, 2021, then that's your base year. You can't go back to 2020.
Can't go back.
Can't go back. Okay.
These organizations that have already, these tourism people have been doing this stuff for a while. They have to do another $7,500 in order to get any of these.
Existing businesses, you mean? It would have to be an expansion of their business, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The county would be eligible for shared interest loans if we ever decided we needed to borrow some money for whatever reason. And this plan would be good for 20 years. So if we ever decided we needed to borrow some money through the Virginia Tourism Department, we would be eligible for low interest loans. The third point there is an advantage to the company that comes in. Let's say a developer wants to come in and develop something bigger and they need some gap financing. If we're a tourism zone, then they would possibly qualify for some of those things that they might not. And so that might attract a tourism related business. The fourth one, that there has to be some employment. That's one of the qualifications. You have to guarantee that you're either going to add one full-time job, and it can be yourself. That's in there. So if I own the business and I am owning it and operating it, then that does count as a full-time position or 2 part-time positions. Those are requirements. Free marketing piece for any business interested in tourism. And I already went over the Adventure Tourism Manufacturing Initiative and recruiting new businesses, small business development. That's one of the biggest things here that I see. And I probably should have put it on here, but I did not. But it does, it is a benefit for grants, possibility of getting a grant through them. And it also makes, it looks good on grant applications, as I said earlier. And the last slide.
So I'm gonna keep talking about grants. Would that be, let's say, John wanted to start some kind of small tourism business. Are you saying he would be
No,
eligible?
the county would be
County.
eligible for, it would make us more eligible for grants. Yes,
To do what?
whatever we might decide we want to go after one for,
In the tourism.
tourism related grants.
Just got one.
So me starting a business benefits the county. What's in it for me?
If you're the small business, well, I'm getting to that. That's this sheet. Okay, this is Appendix A. And it says it on there, it's very small. Appendix A will tell you what the qualifications are. So that's what you have to do if you want to be accepted into it. And then these are your incentives here in the center. And so you can see there that there are building, zoning, and water connection fee waivers, okay? And you can go back to the plan, and I'll be happy to answer questions about those. We talked a lot about how to word how much of an incentive we would give for those things. We talked about using language like up to 100%. We talked about using language such as to be negotiated. But Mr. Durbin said that we needed to put a maximum on that. Each department, we wanted to be very careful and very intentional when we wrote this for the future. We didn't want to open a door that could cause a problem later on down the line. And so we thought if we capped things at $2,000, so that's the most that you could get per item, not in all. 2,000 in building, 2,000 zoning, 2,000 water connections. Most of the time, any of those fees are not going to be that high and are going to be eligible for 100% of what you request. But if we did say have, I'm just pulling something out of my head, a Hilton to come in. You've got to be careful with how much you're willing, what could 100% be. And so he said we should probably cap that at $2,000. And so you'll see that all throughout the ordinance when it talks about the different incentives and rebates, they're up to that. So is the license tax rebate. That's up to $2,000 personal property. So you can get that. And that could be 100% for some businesses, and some businesses might owe $10,000, but they would get a $2,000 reimbursement for that. Wouldn't be a waiver, but it would be a reimbursement. And some of these are things that we already do. I know through the enterprise zone, we do offer some fee waivers and things like that. We're just taking those same things and picking them up and putting them here because it's a marketing tool, and we're marketing to a different audience by doing that.
What aren't some of the incentives? Because it seems to me this is really you're focusing this on small business. You're not expecting a big building. $2,000 waiver for them.
No.
Well, wouldn't one of the incentives be what you said earlier, which is marketing and promotion by the Virginia Tourism Corporation? I mean, for a small business, getting their name out is one of the biggest, hardest things to ever do. So that would be, to me, more important than waiving my water fee.
I agree.
Or whatever.
I think that's the biggest.
And like you said, if you're trying to, if I wanted out of state, want to come here and start a fly fishing, you're telling me that if we're one of these, then that we would be one of those sites that could be referred, they would be referred to. So
Exactly.
that's a county.
Right.
Exactly. It's a benefit to us, and it's mutual.
Yeah.
I would call it. Everybody's going to benefit from this. On the way I look at it, I'm not positive 100% that it's going to help us. That we're going to all of a sudden attract all these businesses, but it can't hurt. And we want to attract them if we're not. They won't market us. I shouldn't say we won't attract them because we're not. We do all the time, but we won't be marketed as well if we're not a tourism zone. Okay. And this third one is something we already do, the expedited permitting and inspection programs. inclusion in tourism marketing programs such as advertising websites, social media. We already do that, but we're just putting it in black and white to try and attract people. Trash collection fee and priority consideration for EDA grants, not a guarantee, but a consideration. Another thing I do want to point out to you on here, this is Appendix A because in the ordinance, it talks about how Freeze and Independence are outside of the tourism zone, even though they're in Grayson County. And I wanted to explain to you why that is. Because they are incorporated, they handle a couple of things a little bit differently than we do. The trash collection fee and the transient occupancy tax. Since they collect those and handle those differently, then Mr. Urban suggested that they develop their own tourism zone. I have been in contact with Mr. Farmer and Mr. Walters about that and offered our assistance on that if they should need it. And at this time, they are investigating whether or not they want to proceed and develop their own tourism zone in addition to ours. Like I said, kind of like Hillsville and Carroll. Hillsville's, if you go on the BTC website and look at it, you will see that Hillsville's tourism zone is identical to Carroll County's. But probably because they're incorporated legally, it was decided that was the best thing for them to do as well.
The Troutdale doesn't have the same.
I'm sorry.
Troutdale doesn't have.
Troutdale does not handle their trash and transient occupancy tax differently. So yes, they are incorporated, but we can include them in our tourism zone. There was one thing that before I take any other questions, I wanted to clarify. And if you have it in your packet, that part, on page 3, under section 65.4, where it talks about in that paragraph down toward the bottom, it says talks about the sole discretion of the tourism official. And then it says, no business or individual possesses a right of appeal, and there will be no automatic qualification for any of these categories and or benefits. And so when that was brought to my attention, I didn't remember writing that. And so I called Mr. Durbin today, and he said that he didn't write either. And he went to do some investigation on that and found out that one of his colleagues had put it in there. And I'd like to just read this email, if I may, very quickly. It's just real short from Mr. Durbin, giving me some clarification on that. And so this is what he said. I have conferred with my colleague, and the language was inserted to protect the county from claims by disappointed, unsuccessful applicants. In giving it a second look, that language may be more appropriate for inclusion in an application form rather than in the ordinance itself. I think you could address this issue by deleting that language and substituting the language as follows. So this is what he recommends we put in instead. The designation of a business as a qualified tourism business, the designation of an individual as a qualified zone resident, or the qualification of a business for receipt of one of the following described fee reimbursements is at the reasonable discretion of the tourism official. No business or individual shall be deemed qualified for any fee waivers or reimbursements until application approved. And so he took out the language about the appeal and substituted that in instead. So I did want to declare that would be something before a public hearing. If you so decide to go forward with that, that we would amend to what you have. Can I answer any questions?
So this requires a public hearing. That's the ordinance.
Yes, ma'am.
The website, is it the same as the county website?
The tourism website, the government website is a .gov. The tourism website is a .com.
Okay.
It is linked.
Thank you.
And those websites are both under revision by Carl and Tracy. team.
Ours is almost completed.
Right. The next sentence after the one you just modified, where it says Grayson County is not responsible for the denial of waivers or fees. Did he give you any clarity on that? I mean, given that tourism is part of the county and the county tourism official is the county employee, I don't see how that, I'm trying to reconcile that statement with the previous sentence.
I can certainly ask him for clarification on that and see if maybe that needs to come out. I would assume, but I could be wrong, that this new language would replace all of that.
Yeah, it would make a little more.
Would make more sense.
Thank you. We'll give you new business. Thanks for that.
Thank you all.
Thank
for your
you.
time. Thank you.
Tracy's doing a fantastic job for us. We're really pleased to have her and lucky to have her on board. She's a fireball. We get stuff done.
I thought I saw her raise her hand saying, I'll take on the river cleanup truck too.
I was afraid that might come up.
Thanks, Tracy.
Well, now that Mount Rogers is basically done, I mean.
Yeah, really.
Thank you all for your time.
Did you give her up, Tom?
No. Well done.
All right, next the old business with the none. New business to be request for public hearing on the tourism zone ordinance. Second.
April.
April.
Yeah, tourism, yeah, for the public hearing and everything.
Yeah.
That what you're asking? Yeah.
Yes.
Roll call. Just for this up. Mr. Parrish. Mr. Reynolds. Grant. And also
Thank you.
thank you for. Okay, next will be the resolution to abandon the section of Route 702 Church Street.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the resolution to abandon a section of Route 702 Curry Street from the secondary system of state highway. Whereas a public notice was posted as prescribed under Code 33.2-909 of the Code of Virginia, announcing a public hearing to receive comments concerning abandoning the section of Route 702 Curry Street described below from the secondary system of state highways. And whereas the Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Transportation was provided the prescribed notice of the Grayson County Board of Supervisors intent to abandon the subject section of road. And whereas the sketch in VDOT forms AM 4.3 attached and incorporated herein as a part of this resolution define the adjustments required in the secondary systems of state highways. And whereas after considering all evidence available, the Grayson County Board of Supervisors is satisfied that no public necessity exists for the continuance of section number 1, and hereby deems that section number 1 is no longer necessary as a part of the secondary system of state highways. And now therefore be it resolved, the Grayson County Board of Supervisors abandons section number 1 and removes it from the secondary system of state highways pursuant to 33.2-909 Code of Virginia. And be it further resolved, the Grayson County Board of Supervisors request that section 2 be accordingly renumbered as part of the secondary system of state highways. And be it finally resolved, a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded to the resident administrator of the Virginia Department of Transportation. Adopted this 11th day of March 2021 in the county of Grayson, Virginia.
Okay, motion, second.
Second.
I have one. Could we, Ms. Shepley,
Yes.
with, you know, it references section 1 and all this other stuff, is there a way to attach the map to this resolution?
Absolutely.
So that it's easier to reference? little bit more for it. We don't need to hold it up, but
Okay.
it just, it what might make it a little bit more.
Good suggestion.
Second. Roll call resolution, Ms. Ash. Reynolds. Man. And I also,
Thank you.
next, ratify Food City agreement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have been working with the town of Independence and the Food City representatives for, how many months has it been? It's 5 or 6 months to develop, what you see here before you, and we've all come to an agreement that, bearing in mind that we want to make sure that the deals that the county signs are sustainable. And that we don't have a situation where we've offered incentives on the front end that may work well on the front end, but not work down the road. There's been some problems with that, some of the deals that were done in the past, not just our county, but surrounding counties in this area. We paid particular attention to that on the front end. And we are ready to, we're asking you all to ratify this so that we can, Steve Durbin has asked us to bring it to the board for final ratification so that we can move ahead with everything else.
It's the stuff that basically we talked about for all the months of putting the deal together.
Motion.
So, you know, as you and I exchanged emails, which is one of your favorite pastimes, I know. About the Economic Development Authority. You know, I understand why they're in this agreement, but we don't have one right now because all the members, have resigned and we're going through the recruitment process. But so that we're on the straight and narrow, I mean, we basically now have assumed the authority, I think, as the Board of Supervisors, because the EDA is not functional. So for the purpose of this, I would propose that maybe we add a statement, kind of stating that statement, saying, you know, for the purpose of this agreement, the BOS is acting in for the EDA, given their, you know, current situation. That way, you know, you can still sign it as the clerk because you're still technically the clerk. You just haven't, there was no vote by the EDA to do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, we could just use Steve sent us wording that we can incorporate into this so that, you know, future folks can look back on it and see that, you know, they might not remember all that's going on at this period of time and say, oh, I can see why they were able to do that.
Right, because I don't want people to get the impression the EDA passed it when in fact they haven't.
I got you.
So a statement like that.
We'll do it.
Make a motion with this change in the approval.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor,
Thank you.
Next, board appointments.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the first is a Board of Zoning Appeals, which is a 4-year term. Betsy Sheeran's term expires on March 31st, 2021. She has indicated she would like to continue to serve.
Okay.
You want to do each one individually, or do them all, or?
Let's do it all one time.
Okay, I've reached the point that I'm ready to present a list of recommended participants on the EDA. I'd like to have the EDA meet in the next 30 days or less. And with your permission, and I'm presenting a list of individuals that have expressed an interest, that have backgrounds in the areas that I had requested. And there may be, we still need 2 additional members in order to get to 7. We have one strong possibility of a member that we have a technicality that we're trying to get information from legal regarding their eligibility to be a member of the of the EDA. Once we get that straightened out, we would be coming back to you and asking if we can add that additional person. If you all have any additional people that you'd like to add, we need a 7th person to join. What we're asking you to do tonight is to approve 1-year terms for these individuals, if you accept this group. The bylaws are relatively complex regarding the EDA. Some members are 1 year, some are 2 years, some are 4 years. It's really a mix, and I want to take a look at whether that's an absolute that you have to keep, and if not, maybe simplify it. If it is an absolute that we need to keep, I have not had a chance to go through with these members and say which one, who wants a 4-year, who wants the 2-year. And I'd like to, if I can get permission from you to appoint them for 1 year, pending going back to them and asking which one would like to fill those slots in the various amounts of years. I hope I'm saying this in a clear manner. Then that would enable us to.
It's staggered years, so you can keep some continuity on
Yeah.
the EDA.
It's a strong group of folks. Excited about the group. They are calling me to say, when are we going to meet? So it's a very enthusiastic group. I appreciate the group that we had before, but we've sort of we're redesigning what the EDA is going to do. There's a lot of things on their plate. We've already got, we could put together an agenda right this second that would be full for them to address. So I'm looking for your approval of the suggested members of the EDA.
Is there a limited number of terms that they can serve?
I'll find that out. I do not know the answer right, sitting here right this second. You know, Mitch?
I'll have to look into the bylaws.
Okay, so you suggesting to ask them to serve 1-year term?
Yes. And the last one is the Planning Commission 4-year term. Michael D. Phipps' term expired on December 31st, 2020, and does not wish to serve another term. Mitch, do we know what district?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Also vacancy on the senior advocacy.
We have 2
Oh, yeah.
vacancies there, but we've got the minimum number right now.
Okay.
But Amelia Waller has expressed interest to come back on.
Oh, good.
So her packet may still be in Linda's drawer somewhere, but
Okay.
maybe Linda can just resend it out to her and say, hey, are you still want to do this? And then see if you could get her back.
Yeah, sure would.
Now we're just going to motion to Ms. Sharon, DCA, Ms. Butler, Dylan, Steve, that's Ricketts, Ms. LaPage, let's go. That's good. We're looking for motion to approve those. Right. Say all in favor.
Thank you all for helping to make recommendations for who should be on this. I appreciate it very much.
Down to county administrator.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've got several updates I'd like to give the board. We have an update on what's happening in broadband. AEP has run an estimated 40 miles of fiber in Grayson County so far. They're still ahead of schedule on their deployment. The Appalachian Power AEP is still in negotiations with the FAA regarding the tower installation at White Top. AEP has applied for a conditional use permit with the town of Independence to create a hub building to house the fiber connection. Gigabeam has all agreements in place for the connection to the Mid-Atlantic, and is waiting for them to schedule installation to the POP in Independence. AEP will install an additional approximately 2,000 feet of fiber to connect Gigabeam from the POP in Independence to AEP's outbuilding location. Gigabeam has identified more potential microsite locations in the phase 1 area. The list will be supplied to the county with help from the contacting the landowners. Gigabeam and AEP is finalizing the splice diagram to connect the current segments that have been installed. Gigabeam is hiring field technicians from the area to assist with customer installation in Grayson County for the duration of the project. And they actually just held a job fair to approve funds. The projected expected time to begin hookup of customers in phase 1 is in April. Chairman Fan, is there anything you would like to add to that?
No. That 40 shown right. I believe it's on that for now.
Okay, that's great. Next, we are continuing to work intensively on the Baywood Technical Center. Bill Sturgill, who used to be the superintendent of schools for Grayson County, Galax, I'm sorry, is our project manager for that project, doing a great job for us. We are meeting on a regular basis to move things forward at a much faster pace than has happened before. We're talking about the work that needs to be done in order to get the building ready for some occupation. We're also discussing with Tri-Area Community Health, they're interested in establishing another health-related site in the Baywood Technical Center building. And things are progressing at a fast rate. Anything you'd like to add on that? Supervisor Bell?
No, it seems it's finally moving. It's like, a while ago, been 3 years in the Gate Center, been 3 years in the Baywood Center, so it's finally moving, so it's good.
We'll keep you updated on that. Mount Rogers School that's progressing at a very fast rate. The enthusiasm of the people in that community, Supervisor Revels can share that with you, but it's an exciting time, and Tracy's working with us along with Virginia Tech on looking at grants and all the opportunities we have in order to make the Mount Rogers, the old Mount Rogers School into what we want it to be, a heritage center for that whole region. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I just applaud Tracy. She's been a dynamo. I call her the ever-ready bunny. That woman doesn't stop. And she is very organized, very thorough. She's done a phenomenal job. But also, I wish Aaron was still here. I want to applaud Mount Rogers Planning District. They basically have prepared and filed a grant for the abatement funding. Went in Thursday a week ago. And they already are getting preliminary feedback that most likely before the end of the month it will be funded. And if it's funded, the state has already got the contractor lined up. So I mean, it could move and be completed in 60 days, which has to occur, of course, before any demolition or anything else is done. Sure. The reception of the community. I held a community club meeting and presented it, and all I can tell you is half the people cried because it preserves what is the heart of that community, which is the old stone school. And I've already had people wanting to know how they can donate to help fund it. Been approached by 3 of the Christmas tree growers out there who I think we can probably raise some money from privately to, I talked to Tracy about either setting up a foundation that they could contribute to, that could help with programming and whatever else might be needed in the future. But it's it's hitting the sweet spot. Hitting the sweet spot.
We appreciate all your help on that.
That's the others.
Actually, all three of you on the different projects we have going on, you guys put a tremendous amount of effort into this, and we appreciate that. As far as COVID-19 is concerned, it's still not over, but we are at the lowest point we've been in a year. So we're very pleased with that. Our percentage of people that have been vaccinated is 15%, Mitch? Is that about right? 17% in our county. So we want that number to grow pretty dramatically.
Bill, I would, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Regarding COVID, I know the health department is, Paul has been involved. We actually had a physician who is finishing his 4th year fellowship or residency at Ballard down in Johnson City, who has offered to come to White Top and the Roby area to actually administer shots to the individuals who are homebound and who can't get out.
Yeah, that's great.
And a local resident out there is a nurse, anesthetist. She's agreed to work with them. So I know the health department and Paul are working to see how they might be able to get allocations. But that would be a real boost for that particular area too. There's so many people that have difficulty traveling, or getting out.
We got some good news today from the Mount Rogers Community Health Services Association. What's the acronym for it? Mount Rogers Community Health. Community Health Department.
Community service.
No,
Yeah, I give them the last letter.
actually, the health one.
Right,
Yeah.
but they fall under the, what they've done, what they had, they sent us a refund of $61,000 that they did not need to spend this year, primarily because some of the things that they had to do on travel and all that didn't occur because of the coronavirus. But they did ask us out of that 61,000 if we would put 15,000 back into the health department to help with vaccinations, as we move forward. So I feel that's a worthy use of that money. The health department's done an unbelievable job for us here. They've just been outstanding, but we'll still get $46,000 even if after we spend that 15,000 coming back into the county as a rebate.
Have we gotten any kind of indication of what we might get
Yes.
off of the next
Yep.
round of federal?
That's my next thing
Okay.
on my
Sorry.
list here. So the new what's the term? The new funding from the federal government for the coronavirus has passed both the House and the Senate, and the estimate for Grayson County is that we will receive a little over $3 million. And it is, we're waiting for the rules about it, but the rules are going to be a little more open. We're hoping that there's more opportunities to spend some of the money on redeveloping some infrastructure and things like that, but we're waiting to see what the rules are.
I had a conversation with Mike Rush, who's a supervisor in Washington County this week, and they had their meeting 2 days ago.
Okay.
And he was telling me that they reviewed the rules, and the fact that the feds put the word stimulus into the name of what this overall fund is, that the regulations are allowing the expenditure for a lot of things that actually stimulate the economy. I mean, for example, Washington County is planning to spend part of that money on creeper trail. To do some improvements and things that have occurred due to the bad weather. So I'm kind of excited to hear what we find out. They're getting like $10 or $11 million in Washington County. But it seems that the rules are going to open it up.
So we're here.
Which might be kind of interesting in terms of what we could use funding for going forward.
I'd love to be able to help the people who freeze a little bit on some of the water related issues, things like that, if that was possible. If the board agreed.
And the schools are getting separate
That's right.
allocations.
Yeah.
And the tanks.
And the tank.
Yeah, this time the towns are getting it separately
And
from us. So that's good news. That should be helpful to us. That's all I have on the county administrator's report. Vice Chairman.
I got one more. Do you have any feedback on the use rate of the clinic up in Grant, you know, from?
Yeah, I don't know I thought Jim said they had 60
That's what.
in the first week, 60 people showed up in the first week.
That's what you told us.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very good.
So it's going really well.
He said
I'm on
they
his
were
board there,
He said
and
they were well pleased.
their board was really excited about the success so far of
Yeah.
what's happening out there. And, you know, we'd like to replicate that in several parts, sort of like along the same idea of maybe not having a centralized wellness center, but having bits and pieces of wellness all around the county. That's kind of the concept that we're trying to come up with in the health realm with Tri-Area Community Health, is setting up these grant-like facilities all around the county. Like we'd love to have one at White Top Community Center. You know, we need one in the eastern part of the county. We're looking at Baywood, you know, and other sites are possible, but I know serving on their board, I can tell you, we're on the top of their list as far as expansion is concerned. So we've got a great partner with them.
You allow, since you're one of their board members, I would suggest to you that they look at having somebody go out to the different areas in the western part of the county, like the White Top Community Center, and not necessarily be available for a big speech or something, but help educate people about the facility.
Okay.
You and I, being in healthcare, we kind of know what it's all about, but a lot of people, it's like, what is this?
Yeah, right.
And I think they could increase their volumes if they would do something at the Rugby Fire
I think
Station.
that's a great
maybe
idea.
promote something in the White Top Community
Yeah.
Center area. I'd do Troutdale. I mean,
Okay.
'cause that's a
They'll be glad to do it.
it's a great program. We just need to make sure we keep the word out and
Right.
keep encouraging people to be a part of it.
And Jim Worth, I can't say enough about his leadership of that group. I mean, talk about, this is an individual or this organization. If they get the okay to do something, it's going to be done. And it's going to be done in the highest level of quality and done at an affordable level. So we've been extremely impressed with that partnership with them.
To Tom's point, and since you're on the board, maybe in this forum once a month, just to keep the visibility on how that thing is going, because it's being broadcast everywhere, and you know, it's still really, you know, it's in its infancy of development, and so kind of some statistics on how that clinic is doing and some of the opportunities and challenges that I think would be helpful.
Yeah, we'll be glad to do that.
Thanks.
Sure.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, registered speakers, do we have any? Board of Supervisors time. All right, I'll look for a motion to go back in closed session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, aye. Break.
That's one. Need Carl needs time to shut her down anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Who made that sound? Tom made it. Tom.
I know, I know.
Mitch, I'm going to cut the stream, so message me when you're ready.
Thanks, sir. on next month's agenda, and we'll bring the language that Steve's already got ready.
You talking about for the cigarette thing? I would think, as part of that, with your, huh?
We're on session now.
We're back online.
Okay, make an open session, with the motion to, for public hearing on tourism zone ordinance.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Thank you.
It's our April meeting, right?
Yes. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Look for motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
What time?
It's almost 10. Is that our record?
Mr. Chairman.
Let's do it.
You got
Thank you all.
crowd in, we got to get away before 10 o'clock.
I don't know.
No snow or no